Okay, so hello everyone. Yesterday and day before that, we studied about GeoPandas library and how you can use it to handle the geospatial data, how you can create a geodata frame and read and write that information onto your local disk, or how you can perform various operations like calculating the distance or area, or how we can uh, plot this information on using this information, how we can create a figure or plot, and how we can uh, supply it with several parameters or legends, or how we can control the figure size that we have using the functions that are in GeoPandas library. And further, we also saw some of the geospatial relationships, how we can create a buffer, or how we can create a boundary, or maybe centroid, or use different functions of intersection in order to fulfill our work requirement. So now today we will be learning about Rasterio, which is a Python library again, and it allows us to read, write, and analyze the geospatial raster data, basically how we can handle the raster data set. So a raster data set is basically um, as you may be knowing, that it comprises of several pixels, and each pixel will have a certain value that will determine its spatial resolution, or what kind of resolution does it have, or how many bands does it contain, and based on that, you have that value of that pixel in any of the raster data set. You can either have any satellite imagery, or DEM, which is your digital elevation model, from which you can get the elevation information, or there may be some of the image containing the temperature information, or the reflectance value for that particular area. So all these data set you can get from the raster data set. So Rasterio provides an easy way to handle all such data types containing the geographical information in the form of pixel values. So this particular library of Rasterio is built on top of GDAL, which is Geospatial Data Abstraction Library, and it provides an efficient way in which you can, in which the interface or it allows the interface to work with the raster dataset, such as your DEM or your satellite images and other gridded data set that you have. So it simplifies the common geospatial task and helps to bridge that gap between the raw spatial data that you have and the analysis. So it um, is especially helpful when it is combined with other Python library such as Pandas, or NumPy, or Matplotlib for different operations of, say, numeric data set, or to have your data frames, or the location and the various attributes that are associated with that geospatial data set, and the matplotlib for plotting of your geospatial data. So we are going to learn about how we can read, write, and analyze a geospatial data using the Rasterio Python library. And for this lecture, learning objectives will be to read, write, and how we can manipulate the raster dataset using this library. Then we will be seeing on how we can extract the metadata information and perform various operations using different band combinations, or if you just want a single band, or use all the bands that are present in your raster dataset. So we'll see that as well. Then we will see how we can visualize the raster dataset and overlay them with your vector dataset, and how you can perform different operations which you must have seen in QGIS, how you can clip your data, how you can reproject your dataset, or uh, different algebraic operations that you can perform with the raster dataset, and how you can apply this rasterio library to practical geospatial analysis tasks, such as calculating the indices. Like you have several indices, such as vegetation index, which is calculated using NDVI, or the water index, or in glaciers we have the glacier index as well, or snow ice index. So there are several indices that we can use and implement on these raster dataset in order to calculate such indices and manipulate the raster dataset for specific information. So, can anybody tell me what uh, if you have used any indices, or what is the basic concept behind using these indices, or which value are we talking about when we talk about indices in particular? Yes, it has to deal with bands, but what kind of, or maybe we will be seeing on how we can work with the indices, or uh, how we can use them in geospatial operations when we will be dealing with that particular piece of task in our session. So let me share my screen and start with it. So before starting, did anyone face any difficulty in the exercise yesterday? Or all of you could do it very easily? Or so how did you do the task of where you had to reproject your data set to another uh, coordinate reference system, which was 3857 maybe? Yeah. So how did you do that particular question? So for that question, it is necessary that we first look into what is the current uh, projection system, or what is my coordinate reference system initially, and we will check it by dot CRS. And once I know what projection it is currently in, then I have to further set my projection, or I need to set a particular coordinate reference system to my particular data set. And then my third step is to use 2CRS. So there are three steps involved in this particular question. I cannot just directly transform it into 3857. I should first know that what is the current projection, or if it is all projected or not, and then I am going to set uh, my coordinate reference system, and then I will be transforming it to or reprojecting it to another coordinate reference system. So you have to do that question like that if you attempted it for that exercise question. So, okay, let's proceed with the rasterio. And like what we did in our previous lecture, that we first installed the GeoPandas library. So my first step is to download. And so I'll uncomment this particular line. And then when I execute it, it will be same. I am calling out a pip, which is the installer for installing this particular library of Rasterio. And then I am going to install it. Now here you will see that I have also installed Fiona. So Rasterio is for handling the raster dataset, but Fiona is another library which is for handling the vector dataset. So I am also going to use the Fiona in this particular session in order to overlay or work simultaneously with the vector and raster dataset, or how we can overlay um, the vector dataset, which is in the form of maybe point, line, or polygon, and I can use it, and we will see how we can use it with the raster dataset by using rasterio. I'm sorry. So I have installed both these rasterio and Fiona simultaneously using the pip install function. So you will see that it has been installed. Now I am going to import Rasterio to use its functions and get the access of its functions. And then I have also imported rasterio.plot because I also want to plot it, and it is another um, you can say that it is kind of a sub Python library which is within the rasterio, but I am also going to import the rasterio.plot, and then I am also going to use, or I will also import the GeoPandas and import NumPy as NP, and then matplotlib. Maybe I'll also install GeoPandas before starting so that uh, because I have imported. So this will also install the GeoPandas in this particular notebook, and then we do not need to install it again once it's installed at the starting. Now I'll be able to use all these libraries if I want to. Now, as I said, the library of the rasterio is used for reading and writing the raster data set. Then plot will help me. It is kind of a sub module. So because of that, I need to import uh, rastereo.plot part from rasterio in order to plot the raster data set. And then I am going to use the GeoPandas, which will handle my geospatial data, and then NumPy for numerical operations, or when we work with array manipulation or anything like that. And then for plotting or visualization, I would need Matplotlib. Then if I want to read any raster data set, then I will use a rasterio.open function in order to use that particular raster data set, and I just need to provide the path for that raster data set, and I do not need to entirely download it or load it over my computer or into the memory. I can just provide the path of that particular raster data set and work with it, let it be. Because you might be knowing that if you would have downloaded any satellite data or DEM, then you would have seen that they are very heavy files, maybe of several MB or gigabytes. So that will take up a lot of space in your memory. So you need not download them. You can just work with them if you provide the path of that raster data set. So, like suppose here I have used a DEM, which is maybe SRTM DEM of 90 meter. It is a DEM of 90-meter resolution, and it has a TIFF format. Then I am going to use this particular raster data set and open use the open function within the rasterio library in order to access this particular raster data set. So I'll use rasterio.open, and in the parenthesis I'll provide the raster path of this particular DEM, and then I will print it, and you will see that it will now be it is now saying that it has access to this particular raster data set. Similarly, you can provide the path of any other raster data set that you have, and you just have to use the dot open a function to access that particular raster data set. So it will return, like you can see, it has returned you the dataset reader object that will interact with that particular raster dataset. So my first function is open to get the access of that raster dataset. Then suppose you want to know more about that particular raster file. And once it is opened, you can retrieve various information that is related. What is the metadata, or what information does the metadata contain about the band combinations, or maybe its temporal resolution or spatial resolution, or when was that data set acquired, and several information that you have in the metadata. Then you can access it using the metadata function. And then you can also know the various attributes like the file name. So this will tell you the name of the file that you can also see in the raster path. It is the same as that. Then you can also know the mode of that particular file, whether it is read-only or write mode. Then you can also know the mode of that particular raster data set by using dot mode, and it says that it is a read-only file. So now you can check the metadata of this particular data set, raster data set, using dot meta, and it will give you the metadata information about that particular file, such as what is the format, then what is the data type, then what is the width and height of this particular data set. Then count will tell me the band, the number of band does it have, or the files that I have for it, maybe, yeah. And then the coordinate reference system, which is a marketer. Then you can also know the coordinate reference system, which I was talking about while I was um, asking you about the exercise yesterday. So we can check um, the coordinate reference system using .crs, but we used it with the GeoPandas yesterday. So it will tell you the coordinate reference system for it, and then you can check the spatial resolution using .res, which is for resolution, and it will tell you it is 90-meter resolution. Then you can check the width and height of that particular image, and to see how many pixels are in the X and Y axis, which will tell you the width and height of that particular image. Then we can also see the boundaries or the geographical extent of that particular raster data set by that is all the values of the geographical extent on the left hand side, bottom hand side, or right or top. So it is going to tell you the bounding box. So just by providing this information of the bounding box, you can also access uh, it anywhere using this bounding box, which we'll see later in our sessions, how we can use the bounding box information that I have maybe by drawing. Suppose I do not have any information about the area I'm going to work, but I can draw any polygon to see that, okay, this is the particular area I want to work on. So how you can know the bounding box information, like all the edge information, so that when you put the bounding box information in that, it will automatically display that particular area in the form of a interactive map. So we'll see that how we can use this bound function later on to do similar tasks. And then if I want to know the data type, then I can also know it using the data type or information about that. So can anybody tell me what is the difference between these data types, or what kind of information do we get from these different data types that we have? Mm-hmm. And how about int 16 and float 32? You must have studied it in your foundational course, or you should know about the data type attribute. Yes, so based on it, we also fix or determine our uh, data set in the attribute table. If you would have done it, you will determine when we are maybe extracting any information or preparing any map, then we need this information of data types in order to perform any mathematical operations on the raster data set. Yeah, so Kaushik is right, and we will be using such data types in similar manner, and you should read about it if you have some information or you do not know about it, then you should maybe Google it and see what it means. Then we have, if I want to transform my data set or uh, to see how my 2D information looks in a 3D perspective or real world coordinates, then I am going to use this affine transform. If anybody knows about it, can you tell me what is affine transformation? Mhm. So I'm not going to go into the details of this one because it will be too much mathematical. Just for your information, you can read about it in the Google and further when you are studying about maybe coordinate reference system or transformation. Yes, so you can know more if you are interested. Um, you just need to know that it is essential for if you are seeing it in any 3D perspective or real world coordinate reference system. So I am going to use it here. Then if I want to now, this till now we saw how we can open our raster data set and how we can access different information that is related to that particular raster data set. Let it be the metadata that is related, or the name of the file, or uh, maybe the width and the height of that particular image, or the if I want to know the bounding box or maybe transform it. So you saw that how you can open and access or know about the data set or the raster data set that you have. Um, and then you will see how we can plot the raster data set. So for that, we will also be needing matplotlib, which is used for raster visualization in the form of plots. And we will integrate it with the rasterio in order to see how we can plot the raster dataset information. Like you saw how we can plot any information by integrating our the matplotlib library with the GeoPandas that you saw yesterday, in which we prepared some of the plots, in which we also put some legends and different parameters too. enhance the quality of visualization of your geospatial data set. And then here, what we are going to use is we are going to use rastereo.plot.show and parenthesis, and this function is used for displaying our raster imagery. So like our raster data set for now is source, which is a 90-meter DEM. And then if I use the rastereo.plot.show, and in the parenthesis, I have to provide the raster um, data set that I opened initially using open function, and it will show me this particular DEM that I want to show in the form of a plot. Now, I want to display a particular band. So as you all might be knowing that DEM just have a single band. So similarly, you can also have a multi spectral band in a particular imagery, and there you can also define um, uh, the band name which you want to display. Like you only want to have maybe visible bands, or you may have NIR band, or you may have a combination of let's say NIR, SWIR, and red band to visualize uh, any glaciated area that we used. So this will give the enhanced kind of visualization to your particular imagery. That is why we use certain kind of combinations of bands in order to display or analyze our um imagery. So Rastereo will support multi-band rasters, like it will support if a raster file or any imagery contains multiple bands in it. So, but if you have to display any specific band, maybe one, then you will have to provide it in the form of a tuple. So rastereo.plot.show, and apart from the raster path, we will also have this one which stands for the band name. So I want to display band 1 in this case, so I will give it in the form of a tuple, which is I have within the parenthesis, I'll have two informations included. So once I execute it, since it is only having a single band, it will show me that particular band, which is 1 in this particular case, because it is a DEM. Now, suppose if you have, let me check if I have any other data set. My goodness. Symbology, do you mean these numbers that are surrounding the imagery? Color, yes. So I will tell you how you can change this particular uh, symbology uh, of this particular imagery, and that you can do using the color map. So in color map, you have different combinations of colors that you can use and that you would have seen in QGIS, that how you were required to choose, or as per your requirement or choice, you selected any of the color map out of all those selections. And there was also an option of inverting that particular color map. So I'll tell you how you can do that using for the symbology. Then, if you want to enhance your plot, maybe include the titles, or maybe have a different color map, or add a title to your plot, then you can do that as well. You will define, okay, this is my figure and this will be the axis. And then you will define plot dot subplot, because you want all these additional feature as a subplot within your plot. Otherwise, it will display it over your entire imagery. So you want it as your subplot. So you will provide the figure size that you have, you want it to display, and it should be less than your current displayed imagery, because you just want it to be a subpart of your particular imagery to show all these features. Now you will use the rasterio.plot.show, and in this you will first specify the image that you have. Then you are going to give the color map, which is terrain in this case. You can change it to anything or any other color map that you want. Maybe it will show you if you want to have. See if I'm trying to see if it shows you the different color maps. But you can know it from maybe uh, color maps. So this is, you can see that the documentation of Matplotlib is available, and you can check what all functions do I have within this Matplot function, so that I can prepare a good figure, or maybe have what all combinations can I have in my particular plot or figure. So you can select from a lot of color map options that you have from this, or you would also have several other, if you want to use a multiple color combinations, then you can also use any of this. So you have a lot of choices in selecting your color map. So you can do that from the documentation of the Matplotlib that you have. And like for suppose I have used terrain in this case, and then I'll define that I want to have an axis which will be as a subplot within that particular um, imagery, and then I'll provide the title, and then when I execute PLT, which is plot.show, it will give me the title of this particular imagery, which is DEM, and it has now changed my color map to a terrain, which shows these brown, yellow, and green portion. So I have later on, I can also put a legend so that I know what color represents the higher elevation, which color represents the medium, and which color represents the lower elevation in this particular DM, because for now I cannot make out which color represents which elevation range. Now, how you can overlay and see a vector data set onto your raster imagery. So your Fiona library, which we installed initially, would help you in displaying or overlaying that vector data set onto your raster data set. So like for suppose I have uh, this boundary or this information about a DEM in the form of a GeoJSON file. Now, if I want to display this particular information, then you can see that I have also transformed the CRS in order to match the coordinate reference system for both my vector as well as raster data set. So they both, the raster as well as vector data set, they both should have the same coordinate reference system. Otherwise, my image will be displayed somewhere else and my vector data set will be somewhere else. So it's very necessary to match their coordinate reference system and have a correct projection for both of them in order to further analyze and visualize my results correctly. So, like for example, if I have not used it, let me check if I have. Okay, so this is how you can display any features that you have in your or onto your raster data file. So if you have any question till now, you can ask me. Otherwise, we will be moving forward. Which plot thing? So AX equal to AX will mean that I am specifying that I want a separate axis for my subplots because this is my plot, the main plot that I have, which is in the form of a DEM, which is displayed. Now I want other things such as legends, or maybe I want to have to display any scale feature or anything like that. I will have it as a subplot within my plot. Otherwise, if I do not specify this AX is equal to AX, it will cover the entire map and it will uh, show me that particular axis in the entire map. So it just suggests that I need to plot it as a subplot within my this figure or this plot. That is the reason why I write AX is equal to AX if I am correct. That's what I know about it. Why we write AX is equal to AX. We can also check it if you want, uh, or maybe Google it. I'm sorry. Why do we write AX equal to AX in so it says that AX is equal to AX syntax in plot show is used to specify matplot axis object where the raster data set should be plotted. So here the figure AX subplot, this line is typically executed. Okay, creates a picture and create a subplot. By passing AX is equal to AX, you are basically telling the raster and these functions to draw the raster data set onto a specific AX object that was previously created with plot subplot. So we have already created a subplot using this particular code block initially at the starting of our code cell, and then we specify that I want to display it this object of this particular axis, uh, and I have already specified how I wanted to. The first AX is the parameter name. So first AX will be the parameter which I am defining, and then I'll specify the value, or the AX is the variable that you defined that you want to pass as an argument. So this will be my parameter, and this will be my argument that I provide, that we also used while we were studying about functions, that once I define it initially, what my function, what parameters are included in that particular function while I was defining it as using the DEF function. And then further, later on, when I used or when I wanted the output for it, I just provided the argument that I want the name as uh, maybe Bob, and the age as something, in order to display the name and age of students in my class. Likewise, I also provided different arguments for those parameters in order to display all or get the return of all those student name and age corresponding to that particular student, um, displayed for my maybe class list or whatever I had. So this will allow you to control where the plot will appear, and to potentially and add other elements to the access objects later. So it is just to specify that I have to add uh, it to my particular plot, and where should I add that particular subplot within my plot, and it will basically control that where I need to add that particular thing in uh, within my plot, if it has clarified your doubts. Let's just remove it and see how it functions. Now it has not created any issue because we did not have any of the elements that we want to include within our plot. But once we have other parameters as well, like for say we have scale or we have legends that are included in our raster data set, then it will be important to specify this access option. Then yes. So probably when we are, since we did not have any of the parameters as of now, so it did not affect our plot now. But once we have other elements as well included in our plot, then it is probably going to be important to add this particular function in order to specify that we want to add it in a certain location and it should not be everywhere on this particular plot. So, if there are any other questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, we will be proceeding with on how and see how we can overlay the vector layer onto our raster imagery uh, um, in the tomorrow's class, and maybe we will finish this particular rasterio Python library tomorrow, and we will be seeing how we can access the various bands and band combinations within my raster data set, then how we can calculate the different or apply band math using different calculations, or maybe calculate different indices using our raster data set, and similar such features of clipping our vector data set with the raster data set. So let's say let's see it tomorrow, and we will also extend our class for half an hour if we want to. If we are unable to finish it in 1 hour, then we are going to extend our class and we'll try to finish this particular library tomorrow. Okay, so thank you for attending the session today. See you tomorrow.